What's going on, everyone? Thought I'd do a quick kind of a build status update on the truck and kind of an intro of what it's got going on so far. So it's my 2001 Toyota Tacoma Prerunner. This truck actually started out as a two-wheel drive. It was then converted to full drive IFS using parts from a 1997 Toyota 4Runner V6, obviously. Then I got a deal on some straight axles, and here we are. So to start, I acquired these axles. These are 1-ton axles from a buddy of mine, and slowly collected parts over time. Once I had a majority of things I needed, I decided to cut the truck into pieces, cut up a perfectly good truck, and make it more capable. That's kind of a cool shot right there with the clouds in the back. I think it rained here last night, which is nice. Anyway, so I'll kind of start here in the front end. Well, first off, these are fairly new tires to me. I think I got them a year and a half ago or so. They're 39-inch BFG KM3s mounted on 17-inch trail ready beadlocks. Only single beadlock, they're not double beadlocks or anything. Down here, this is a Ford, I think it's a 1987 Ford Kingpin Dana 60 that has 538 gears, ARB locker, 35 spline outer axle shafts, Yukon hardcore hubs. Other than that, it's pretty much stock. I built that ram skid out of 1.5-inch quarter wall DOM tubing, structural steel tubing, and yeah, one of the main talking points most people ask me about the truck, surprisingly enough, is these lights right here. These lights are mounted on the high steer arm and shine wherever you're turning, which is kind of nice for the trail, because at nighttime you can't always see what's going on directly in front of you, and sometimes trails are really tight or have really tight turns, so the lights kind of help shine up the trail in front of you so you know what you're driving over. Over here we've got 2.5 14-inch travel Fox coilovers with dual compression adjusters. Here we've got standard Toyota IFS box that has been drilled and tapped for hydro assist. These are my rock lights right here. Got Smitty built 9,500 pound winch. This is actually my custom homemade, well, mostly homemade light bar. I really like how bright Baja Designs light bars are, but not too many people can afford them, at least not for me. So I bought a light bar for this light bar, you know, from overseas for $100, and I put, I don't know, probably around $250 in light chips, optics, and drivers for the LEDs, and it's comparable to Baja Design's lights and brightness for a fraction of the cost. May do a build video on that at some point. This bumper, obviously, as you can see, is a stock, or the top section of a stock Tacoma bumper. I really like how Prerunner guys try to keep bodies looking stock, and then the suspension is just insane. So that was the motivation there. This bumper built by me, stock grill, everything. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention: Fox 2-inch air bumps, shortened to 2-inch travel. I have wide open designs. I think they're 2.5-inch aluminum links. Super bling. Never had a problem with them. Going under here, you see the Atlas 2-speed transfer case. This thing was kind of a beast to fit in here. I had to chop up my 4-wheel underground link mounts and shorten drive shafts and all that, but it's really nice. The ratio I have in there is 3.8 to 1, and with the automatic transmission, I feel like it's really the best ratio you can put in here. It's not too slow on the trail. It's also got plenty of torque for climbing fun stuff. I made this cross member here. That's a TMR Customs transfer case mount. I'm actually in the process of redoing that. Kind of tired of the polyurethane motor mounts and polyurethane transfer case mounts. It's a little annoying. Oh, right here. Can't remember. I think these are Poly Performance limit straps. Anyway, front end is super plush, super cushy. No complaints about it at all. I've tuned the shocks a handful of times, which isn't too bad to do. I recommend everyone tune their shocks if you have some time to learn how to do it. It's not that bad. The hardest part literally is taking the shocks out of the vehicle. More of the same back here. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention was the vinyl graphics that I put on here. These are all hand laid with 3M knifeless tape, and that stuff's really nice for laying out any kind of design you want on anything, really. So back here we've got GM 14 bolt. I think this is one of the older ones. This one actually came with drum brakes on it. Obviously those that don't work too well, but it's got a, I think, Rough Stuff half-ton caliper conversion for disc brakes. Super nice, no problems with it. Calipers are just your standard cheapo half-ton, like I said, GM caliper. One thing I don't have anymore is the e-brake, which I kind of miss, but that's another project for another day. Got more rock lights down here. These springs are Chevy 63-inch standard Toyota stuff. They were great for driving around town and rock crawling, but when you start upping the speed, they're not too great. Kind of too heavy of a spring for these light trucks. Here we've got Fox 2.0 coilovers. Actually, these are actually coilover bodies. I had Ryan at AccuTune pull the coilover hardware off, but my plan back when I installed these was eventually I would 4-length the truck and just use these as regular shocks for now, which they worked out nice. I'll have to put the coilover hardware back on or for when I do this next big project coming up. Anyway, back to the rear end. Under here, I actually took out the stock gas tank in preparation for 4-linking the rear of this truck. And this is a gas tank out of a mid-90s Ford F-150, I believe. It's the auxiliary tank. That year of trucks had 2 gas tanks, and this was the rear one. So super nice. I gutted it and shortened up the sending unit, the Toyota sending unit, and mounted it into the Ford tank, so my gas gauge and all that works like stock, and it has a stock Toyota fuel pump, so everything works like, you know, it should. Rear axles stuffed with 538 gears, ARB locker. The anti-rat bar that you see there is rough stuff, super heavy duty. Got a big MagnaFlow muffler under here because I'm tired of driving loud vehicles. I guess I'm just getting old. These lights are backup lights, auxiliary lights, stop tailgating me lights, something like that. Got to represent the Prerunner crowd because per the VIN, I guess this is still a Prerunner. Big 40-inch BFG KM2 spare with, I think this is a Poly Performance tire hold down. Factory bed liner, CO2 tank mount, antenna for the ham radio, my Amazon light bar that I've modified way too many times, but I'm finally happy with it now. Oh, this rear bumper, custom made by me back when I first built the truck. Wheelbase around 125 inches. Frame height, I think a lot of people measure frame height under this front body mount right here, and I measured it the other day and it was 24.5 inches, which is pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's about as low as my old Tacoma on leaf springs and 37-inch tires. So, and this truck has 4.5 inches of up travel at the moment, which is fine. Probably try to up it a little more when, or after I 4-length the rear. Rubicon trail damage. This happened a couple different times on big sloughs on the Rubicon trail, but door's still open, so, and the window rolls up and down. So I'll just leave that as it is. Let me climb up here. This is actually a roof rack off a 3rd gen Toyota 4Runner. I learned about this on the forums online, but you can usually find these for, I don't know, around $100. And super nice for being able to take the kayaks out to all the remote campsites we get to. And yeah. Alright, this is probably my favorite part of the truck so far. I've done a lot of work in here, and I guess it shows a bit. So let's start off. I just vinyl wrapped these because I hated how much gray was in the interior. Also, the factory carpet that was on the doors was getting pretty ratty. So anyway, oh man, when did I do this? Probably almost 2 years ago now. I tore the truck apart again to build this interior roll cage, and it was a fun project. I used to have an exo cage on this truck, as evident by this giant hole that I haven't welded the sheet metal up yet. But I had a buyer for it, so I made a little bit of money off selling it, so I decided to build an interior cage. I just think interior cages for safety and cleanliness and keeping the body look as stock as possible on the outside is pretty sweet. You get a cage that is strictly business, which is what I like. So anyway, just a little bit of a rundown. I got PRP daily driver seats, 2 inches taller since I am 6 feet. I have Nardi deep corn steering wheel, really comfortable, smaller diameter than stock. This console was built by me. I put a Art Car Winters transmission shifter in here, which is really nice, a lot nicer than the stock one. Here you've got front wheel, or I guess you'd call it the shift knob for the engaging and disengaging the front wheel or four-wheel drive. This one's for the rear. Well, this actually, let me rephrase, these are high and low. So right now front's in neutral, but once I go to put it in high or low, that's when four-wheel drive engages. The nice thing about this Atlas is I could do front-wheel drive only, which would be nice which is nice for doing front digs and whatnot. Let's see, mob armor mounts. These things are really nice for wheeling. They never come off or anything, and it's probably the cleanest way to hold your phone in your car. Scan gauge, made custom mount for that. Just an old Ken 1 deck that I installed probably shortly after I first bought the truck 10 years ago. A little outdated, but it still works, so whatever. Ham radio, that's a ICOM 2300H. Really nice ham radio. I started out wheeling with CB radios, and while they were good close range, for long range stuff, they're not the best. Let's see, I had to install sun visors from a UTV because nothing else would fit in this area right here between the cage and the rear view mirror. But these things are nice. You can get them tinted too, which I didn't opt for, but it's an option, which is cool. Stock dome light. Oh yeah, that's changing soon. Roll cage is padded all the way around up here so you don't bonk your noggin. One other thing behind the dash, what you can't see is all the tube work underneath and behind the dash. I actually found a good spot to run 1 3/4 DOM across from side to side that kind of ties this with this tube, as well as the windshield bars. So it's super burly. Oh, right now I have PRP. Well, I have PRP 5-point harnesses for the truck. The 5 points aren't installed, but for general trail riding, I like to just use a lap belt. Going to the back, more of the same. We're padding up top. Another thing I also did was insulate everything. So the floor's got insulation, kind of like a Dynamat, but cheaper on Amazon. Found on Amazon. Works pretty good. Got these nice PRP bags for holding on my junk, airing up tires and whatnot. Cage is completely tied to the body, and I can't even remember how many places. I got these nice dimple dyed plates that I made to tie everything together. For now, I decided to convert the rear to a single seat. I thought it'd be cool to run for a while. I think pretty soon. I don't know. I'd like to go to a PRP bench seat. I'm gonna have to redo some of the tubes back here. Like, I think this X will have to go outside the cab. So I have room for headrests back in this area. Also, more of the same dimple dyed tubes, or not tubes, dimple dyed plates. You know, go fast holes, all that fun stuff. Fire extinguisher, because everyone should have one. Tow strap, tree strap, first aid kit. And yeah, that's pretty much the interior. This battery disconnect, I've yet to wire it in, but now that I have my battery in a good spot, I can get that all set up. All this tube work was done by me on my JD Squared Model 32 electric hydraulic. Super nice bender. For these tubes up here, you probably saw it a little bit earlier, but those tubes I decided to poke out of the back. For one, to hold the light bar, and two, these are going to tie into a small bed cage that I'm going to build when I do the 4-link, which is coming up pretty soon, hopefully. So that's the interior. Guess we'll move on to the engine bay right now. Alright, just popped the hood. I'm the only one out here. Me and the dog. So anyway, this was also part of the cage build I did a couple years ago now. I was pretty tired of dealing with all the factory sheet metal up front. So I started out with completely gutting the whole front end of inner fenders, core support, that's all gone. Started out laying out tubes to connect into the cage in the cab. So this tube actually runs underneath. It's kind of hard to see, but it ties into the dash tubes here. So everything is welded together. These tubes go through the cowl, they clear the wipers, and they go into and meet up with these tubes at the dash bar. Super burly. I made these are the shock mounts right here. I decided to TIG weld these just to make it a little bit cleaner. K&N intake, full PSC power steering. Super nice setup, haven't had any problems with it. Yeah, pretty much stock engine, nothing really special here. Got the middle of the line ARB compressor for running the ARBs. Factory cruise control box, gotta have that. Luckily with these trucks, or the earlier Tacomas, they have the evap box for the fuel system in the engine bay. So this used to live on the driver's side, but you know, can't leave well enough alone. I just found I had more room to mount it on the passenger side. Batteries obviously not here anymore. Everything is mounted on tube work. Headlights are mounted on the tube work. Makes everything really sturdy. Factory hood latch. Cleaned up all the wiring as best I could. But one thing I also absolutely love about the wiring, the Switch Pros SP9100. It's kind of expensive, but oh man, it's worth it. It makes everything so much cleaner. You don't have relays to deal with. All solid state switches. So yeah, no relays, no fuses. It's a killer setup. All the clearances in here are super tight. You can see this flange right here. That is actually removable. You see the tube clamp there. But I made that removable, so in case I had to change the brake booster, you can do so. Another modification. This is a windshield washer bottle out of, I think, a early or late 80s Toyota pickup. Super nice to have that. And yeah. Oh, this relay. I said no relays for the Switch Pros, but that is a relay for the to run the ARBs. Kind of a separate relay. I don't know too much about wiring, but if it's there, I used it. So, another thing I forgot to mention on the front end, I actually chopped the factory frame right here. And I did that because nobody likes grinding. It's messy, loud, annoying, takes way too long. So I built the whole front of this frame out of 2x3 box tubing. 3/16 wall. Very heavy duty. Probably overkill, if you ask me now. Could probably get away with 2x3 box tube, but only 1/8 inch tubing. Yeah, you can see up in here how integrated the cage is. These are little tubes to mount the stock bumper. Everything fits, but just barely. Just to clean the tube work up a little bit, or I guess to keep the dash clean, I actually got a second dash and trimmed out pieces until I knew what shape those needed to be, so I didn't leave it as an open hole. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much to it. Just simple, clean, capable. Tried to retain everything, or as much as I could. So the horn works, cruise control works, AC works. Even run these cage tubes through the dash. These vents still work. Here's my remote winch control, winch power. Really handy for wheeling or pulling out anyone who's stuck. Yeah, factory seat belts just to keep it street legal. Sometimes cops don't like 5-point harnesses, I guess. So yeah, I wanted to make this video because, I mean, on Instagram, I guess the truck is pretty popular, but I thought I'd start trying this YouTube thing out. I really want to do a build series on the next phase of the build, or the project, I guess you'd call it, which is going to be the 4-wheel underground 4-link rear. I'm building a new transmission skid plate, installing new motor mounts, and hopefully doing the bench seat too. So hope everyone liked the video. Stay tuned for more. Right, Baxter?